Hi guys, so today I'm going to be reacting to a video that is called Liberal Teens versus Conservative Parents. Okay, this is from a channel that is called Jubilee. I'm not sure if it is pronounced that way, but I pronounce it Jubilee. Um, yeah. So we are going to watch this video, and I'm going to be giving my opinion to you guys. There's this first part of the video that we're not going to watch because it's more about America's politics, and really, sorry for noise. Uh, okay, and I really do not have idea about American politics, so why would I give my opinion? Okay, so we're going to start from here.
I think it's a good thing that young people are sensitive.
Okay, so this part of the video, they're going to argue about young people, and they are going to give their opinions about if young people are too sensitive, or not nowadays.
I think today they can be more sensitive than what they probably could have been 30 or 40 years ago. You know, the growing up was the Berlin crisis, the Cuban Missile Crisis. I mean, we had the threat of annihilation, staring at us several times. And a lot of times I go, thank God John Kennedy handled it.
The country has been spoiled for so long. They're trying to make it so a man can't be a man. And if you don't let men be men, then things start crumbling. Society crumbles, families crumble, and broken homes start happening.
What is
And
being
kids need a father. So 36% of kids don't have a father. So every boy is, well, my mom is mad at me, my dad don't love me, my dad don't care about me. Maybe I should be gay, maybe I should be trans.
okay? His logic is that LGBT people are LGBT because they lack of a dad. That's not true. There are LGBT people that have both a father and a mother, and they are LGBT. What does it have to do?
I don't know who I am. And your father put
That's not the reason. The reason is that you are born that way. You can see LGBT even in animals. There are a lot of animals that have have been seen with homosexual behaviors, such as dogs, even birds, and a lot of animals. And well, I'm going to continue.
puts confidence in you. No disrespect to anybody, but the younger generation of men are soft. And if we had to go to war, they're not protecting America.
Why are soft? Because they're LGBT. So LGBT people are soft and they cannot defend their country from a war. I bet that out there are a lot of LGBT people that go to the gym and they have very big bodies and they are way stronger than this guy, and probably they are way more prepared to save their country in case of a war than him.
There's no better place to be as a black individual or whatever you are in America. Go to the Middle East right now and say you gay or you trans and see how they treat you.
So we should be thankful that in America there are problems, but they should just not speak up for their rights in a discrimination situation just because in other countries it is worst. What the hell?
Johnny, I'm 32 years old, and I am a conservative parent. My grandfather was a no excuse individual. He grew up in the Jim Crow South, but he worked hard. The house that he bought is still in our family today. He had a garden in his backyard. If you step past a certain
My first impression of him is that maybe he has a very fragile masculinity. Like, that's my first impression of him because he's always talking about what being a man is, not being fragile. Maybe he has a lot of things that he do not want to show to people because he has a very fragile masculinity. And by the pass of the time, it will be very hard for him, his life, because uh, I think he has learned like not expressing emotions, like being strong, and if you are a little bit emotionally fragile, then you are not a man. that's the education that he has received. Maybe that's why he thinks that. Well, and he's kind of homophobic too.
And why he got on you. So to watch the men before me who really could have been lynched for stepping out of line, who really could have went through a hardship for not doing what society said, the worst thing that can happen to me is I get a mean tweet or a dislike. So
Anna, I'm 17
Okay.
and I'm a liberal. I really want equality for all, and the liberal policies that have been passed side more with my values of equality for those who are on the LGBTQ, those who are on the gender spectrum. Something about conservative parents that I don't like is whenever I come across them, they seem to be very rooted in their ways and not willing to listen to someone who's a
That's being close-minded.
teenager like me. They think more like, oh, because I'm older, I have more knowledge, which is not necessarily always the case.
It's it's not the case at all, because not necessarily because you are older, it means that you have a lot of information about a topic, about a specific topic, and you have to have knowledge about something, and you have to. It does not depend on your age, but it depends on how much information you have, if you have done research about the topic, um, where that information came from, because it has to be reliable information. It cannot be TikTok. You know what I mean? So yeah, let's go on.
Can we have the disagreeer step forward?
Because men are being raised by women that they're weaker is, in my opinion, completely false. Our generation, it's not more sensitive, we're more aware of all these things. Being transgender and gay is not something that should be ashamed of or make you feel less in today's society. That is why women are fighting for equality, because this idea that because they only have a mom, they're weaker, or because, they're more sensitive, that's, in my opinion, completely false.
And I would say in the environment that I grew up in, the teen pregnancies come from girls without fathers. The homicides come from people without fathers. Every girl that I know, if they grow up with a daddy, they get married before they have a kid.
Why do they not have fathers?
If you want me to be real, because a lot of women make bad choices on
So the fault is on women.
the men they procreate with. If you make a bad choice, that's your responsibility.
If you had made a bad, if you make a bad choice, that's your responsibility. That's what he said. He's also very misogynist. Misogynist. I don't know how to say that word. But why do you say that it's the guilt? The guilt it's comes from the woman's side, just because I mean you don't. We can say that she chooses the father of her of her son, but you can also say that from the father. You choose the mother, and it's not like if the father is a bad father, then it's the fault of the girl, because we you just said that 35% of homes in America do not have a father. So maybe it's not like if they made a bad choice, but maybe there are a lot of bad men out there, because it's 35% of men of families do not have a father. That's a lot, you know. In Latin America, it's even worse, but in America, 35% it's really very bad. So maybe it's not the fault of the woman, but of the man that abandoned his family, you know. So why do you put the responsibility on the woman?
Every bad thing that I did in my life,
At the end of the day, it's your choice as a father, in this case, uh, to abandon your family. So it's not the mother's fault. Okay.
it was when my daddy was in jail.
And since his problem started when his dad was in jail, then it's everybody's case.
When my dad was out and I had my dad's reassurance, I was a better person.
I had one daughter that had to move across
That's an excuse for his bad behavior.
the country to get rid of a toxic relationship with somebody that was harming them.
Why does the woman have to move across the country because the man is being toxic? Why can't the man be taught, don't be toxic?
Oh, I agree.
Women nowadays have to deal with those kinds of relationships. The mother knows better, I would say, than the father about that.
We're not more sensitive, there's just more opportunities for us to be sensitive. You can say like 15, 20 years ago, there weren't videos of black men being shot by police all over the internet. Now that that's there, people are more inclined to feel a certain way or take a stance on that topic.
Do you think it would be more beneficial to show police also interacting with white guys? Because more white guys get killed than black guys by cops.
If you look at the amount of white people and the amount of black people, there are going to be more white people killed because there are more white people in America. The percentage of black people that are being killed is higher than the percentage of white people.
Well, just because you're pulled over doesn't mean you have to resist. I mean, they don't just kill you when they pull you over. It's all about based on how you perform as an individual. I've been pulled over and never had a bad interaction in my life. When I was rude, I got snatched out the car. Everything is a personal choice. If you can't take accountability for your life, then you will forever be a slave.
That's not true. There are definitely issues on the side of policing. Black communities, majority black
But worldwide, there are a lot of problems with police in a lot of countries, including my country. And the reputation that police have, they have gained, it's not that everybody talks bad things about the police just because. No, there are a lot of cases that are not isolated cases, but it's repeatedly it happens that there are problems with the police. And so I insist the reputation that police has, they have gained.
communities, majority POC communities are over-policed. There's larger patrols in black communities. There are police work longer hours in majority black communities. So there's an issue from the policing side as well.
Politics has damaged my relationship with a loved one.
I'm sure you could relate to this as well, but in the Asian community, there's a lot of anti-blackness. So with the advent of the Black Lives Matter movement this past year, having conversations with my parents was really difficult, especially around the nuances of racial justice and sort of like what the movement was fighting for and how to articulate that in like the very closed mindset that my parents had.
A lot of my family voted for Trump in the past election, and I don't necessarily agree with that. I don't like to say this, but it made me view their morals a little bit differently, and they're willing to adapt and change was so different, and I was just like shocked because I wanted to understand their side and really talk about it, and I was met with, "You're wrong, and we don't want to talk about it," and that kind of really damaged just kind of the way I looked at them.
Yeah, I definitely agree, and I also think that it just made me less willing to expend the energy to have political or like just like any like hard conversations with my parents or anyone else in my family. My name is Rithwick. I'm 18 years old, and
I'm going
I'd like
to continue.
Don't talk to each other anymore. Personally, I think that's sad. Do all my family members vote the same? No. Do we have a pretty good idea of how family members may have voted? Yeah. But we went more of agree to disagree. I'm not going to not buy you a present for Christmas because, you decided to vote for somebody that I don't like. Give me a break. Families are special. And we've got too many people, as you've talked about, that don't have them.
I think the limit is when, for example, you have your family that it's homophobic and they're against two men, they're against two men getting married or two women getting married or legally change your gender. But when it is your situation specifically, and your family have this kind of opinions, and it is affecting you as a person, then of course I would say you have all rights. You have every right to stop that relation. Because it's affecting your self-esteem. It's affecting your person. The individual, your emotions, and it's affecting your mental health. And so it's different when you disagree with someone about an economic system. You're a capitalist and the family member, the other person in the family is socialist, and the other person is a social democrat. uh, you can have this kind of disagreements, but when it comes to valuables, I think it gets a little bit more personal, so I understand.
Took this prompt, I kind of took it more of like my view of the person changed differently because, not because of the way they voted, but because some of their values to me were, like he said, moral values, and that shows kind of part of their characters.
Would you say that morality is subjective to each individual person though? Or would you say morals are the same across the board?
The basic is human equality for all. And so if you don't believe that somebody should have an equality based on their gender, their sexual orientation, or their race, or anything like that, that's a moral problem in my eyes.
That's a huge thing with the trans.
It's very dangerous to say that morality is 100% subjective, because we have to start by this statement: what is moral and what is not moral. What is moral is something that causes harm, and what is unmoral, it's something that causes harm to a person, and what is moral, it's something that do not cause harm. Sometimes there are situations that you do not have a 100% moral or 100% unmoral decision, and that's kind of subjective. It depends on how you on what you base your opinion. What are the fundamentals on your opinion? But there are things that should not be discussed. For example, if you really think that you should, I don't know, that you should kill LGBT people, that's completely unmoral, and it is dangerous for the LGBT community to put that in discussion and to say that it is subjective, to say that it is moral or immoral. So it's dangerous, that kind of speech, that every opinion should be accepted and respected. That's not true. There's a limit, and the limit is human rights and freedom of every person as an individual, and public safety, I would say.
And the gay and the LGBTQ and all that whole thing. So I grew up LDS, being Utah County, it's like 95% Mormon. At 8 years old is when you get baptized. And so if you're raised around where 95% of people think the exact same way, I feel like that's too young of an age where you're a child and you don't really know what you're doing. And so where I have a problem with the trans or these different things is they're getting kids at like 10, 12 years old and they're pushing them down that path.
Who's they?
Who's they?
Who's indoctrinating these kids into becoming LGBTQ and et cetera?
There's a lot of groups out there.
So he thinks that people are encouraging LGBT children to become LGBT, like it is a club, and you are inviting other people to this community, to join this community. He really thinks that being LGBT is a decision. It's not a decision at all. You do not decide your sexual orientation or your gender identity.
Like?
I've just heard that there's groups out there. I don't know. You don't think that?
I just heard that there are these groups that indoctrinate children to be LGBT. So since 95% of people around me say that, then I have the same opinion because I do not look for information. I just feel so comfortable repeating what other people say.
There's groups out there that do that?
That's stupid. Very stupid.
No.
I'm assuming you're a straight man, and so I think it's weird for you to comment on the queer experience and what that's like for someone growing up who's struggling with those experiences. The way you're describing it as indoctrination.
Yeah, shut up. Just shut up. He's not even queer, so why is he giving his opinion on LGBT people? Like, if he really is very ignorant, because he's talking like about LGBT like if it is a decision. So it's obvious that it's obvious that he's straight, or maybe he's in the closet. I don't know, but he do not have any idea of the discrimination that the LGBT community suffers. So why is he giving that opinion that it's incorrect? Because he's saying like it's a decision, and that you can change someone's sexual orientation and gender just by making like an invitation, like please join to be LGBT, like it's so cool, please become a gay, lesbian, bisexual, transgender. That's not how it works, dude.
And people who are figuring out their sexualities and their queer identities aren't necessarily going to ascribe to the first.
So I'm going to
Get
when
Yeah.
I don't have a college.
America
Part.
is the best country in the world.
To be honest, I expected that they have this opinion.
I think despite all of our challenges and problems, when you look at all the other countries of the world, everybody is still trying to come here.
The way I can talk out loud, the way I can feel myself, the way I can express myself fully as an individual. It ain't many places black men can go do that outside of America.
3 years ago, when I got into the court systems and the different rights taken away from me and government control and government power. And so when you have that stuff stripped away from you and you realize most other countries don't have the freedom that America has. America has been the greatest country ever, and I think it will continue because of a lot of good people that stand up for the right things.
That's being very nationalist in a stupid way, in an extreme way, because they do not even question their ideas. They do not even question that America have a lot of problems of inequality. America has a lot of problems with the healthcare system, and there are a lot of countries that have a very good educational system, that have a very good healthcare system, that they have free education, and I don't know, they are top 10 in equality in the world. Like, I don't know, um, Denmark, for example, a lot of countries like that I consider to be way better than America. By the way, I do not hate America, but I just hate this kind of thought that even if, of every country, because if any citizens of any country really thinks that they are the best, then it means that they have zero criticism and that they just do not think about the problems that they have as a society. And every country, even the best country in the world, will have problems that they have to improve. And so this stupid extreme nationalism is just increasing the ego of these people, and it makes no sense. Also, America is, they always say like we are very democratic, a very democratic country. They are democratic on the inside of their country, but they create wars. They create dictatorships, like the dictatorships that they created in Latin America, like the dictatorship that they created and they organized and that they paid for in Chile in 1973. I'm Chilean, by the way. So they have this kind of ideas, and they really do not notice that they have a lot of things to work in. In Latin America, we also have a lot of things to work in, okay? But now we're talking about America. And this statement that America is the best country in the world is really stupid.
I think I would like to ask the question, what is America the best at?
I think we just was talking about the freedoms that we have here versus what they don't have in other countries.
You have the freedom to die if you don't have to if you do not have money to pay for a certain treatment. Well, at the end of the day, this speech of freedom is useless because it's just freedom for those who have the money to pay to choose. If you do not have money, you only have one election. You only have one choice, that it's dying. That's
So
it.
what about places in Scandinavia that actually have higher amounts of freedom?
Yeah, Scandinavia. A lot of countries of Scandinavia are very good countries, way better than America.
They have better democracies than we do here, higher quality of life, higher median income. They have healthcare systems that are more efficient, that take care of everyone in their population, more access to education.
But when you look at the big picture, everybody wants to come here. Millions of people are not trying to get into.
I think the reason why a lot of people want to go to America and they migrate to America, it has to do with all of the propaganda that America had in the 20th century, on this idea of the American dream, that wants to go to America, and all of the propaganda really that they had. So that's the main reason. Also because of TV, the series, not necessarily because they're the best choice. It's not the best choice migrating to America, um, but a lot of people think so.
To Scandinavia.
Why?
because we have more opportunity than any other place in the world.
We don't even make the top 25 in women equality.
But we have a better opportunity to do something about it compared to other countries.
This guy, even when they point the problems of America, he look at those problems and he do not have any kind of criticism, and he says, well, we have the opportunity to change this fault, and it's like, bro, okay.
And I would love it for Europe to open their borders the way we have and see if you can get people from other parts of the world to do mass migration to Europe.
I was going to mention Scandinavian countries as well, but I think it's also important to address that Scandinavian countries are very like homogenous, like racially, socioeconomically. They don't face the same geographic diversity that we have. What you were mentioning with the fact that we have the opportunity to write with like women inequality, like why is that not happening? It's because the way our democracy is set up, our Congress is literally in a gridlock right now, as it has been for so many past sessions of Congress. We aren't getting anything productive done.
The opportunity we have here is incredible, and I'm very happy that I live here and not somewhere else, but we are so focused on, oh, America is the best, that we don't look at these other countries and say, why are all those people so happy, and what is that, and how can we incorporate that into our society?
I mean, I would say, like, I think diversity is good. I think diversity of thought and diversity of opinion is super helpful. It's really easy to get the way I feel. I just expect you to respect my right to feel this way. I respect your right to feel this way, and we keep it moving.
And we are clapping and we finished. So my conclusion, okay, you guys give me your opinions. I think with my reaction, you got my opinion and the way I think a little bit. So I want to know your opinion, guys, down below in the comments. Please be respectful in the comments. If you liked my video, give me a like. By the way, my intention was never being neutral. Of course, I had my own opinion. Um, but you guys can write down your opinion on the video, on the things that I said, but please be respectful. And yeah, that's it. Um, Thank you for watching this video and subscribe, and see you next time, guys.